You're listening to the Wartime Leadership Podcast with your host, Nathan Coy.
I'm your host, Nathan Coy, and today's guest, yes, that's right, I use the plural form of guest to refer to guests, are from the Glorious Destiny Ministry. Team Glorious Destiny, how are you all?
You're doing amazing.
Very good, sir.
Are you kidding me? Like just a little while ago, they were up, like running around like banshees in my house, running through the studio like nobody's business. And here they are like, yes, we are doing oh so well. Okay, I'm going to ask one more time. How are you all doing?
Hallelujah.
Okay, see, there we go. See, that was easy. They just needed a little bit of a wake-up call. Hey, I want to go down the line. I want you to tell us your name, where you're from, and how old you are, and why not an interesting fact about yourself. Get into the mic there.
Okay, so my name is Jackson. I'm 20 years old, and I'm from Washington State. And a fun fact about me is I come from a big family of 8 siblings. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Oh, 8 siblings. Yeah, you had to fight for food, didn't you?
My name is Jafet Tikbi. I'm actually 20 years old. I was born in a small country in West Africa named Togo, but I grew up in Chicago. And an interesting fact about me is...
You were born in Togo. See, there you go. I mean, that was easy.
Well, that is one because I can't think of another.
And you were very soft-spoken. We're going to get you to come out of your shell a little bit here, okay? All right, next.
My name is Abel Guzman, and I was born and raised in the Dominican. I'm 20 years old. I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, and an interesting fact about myself is I know how to cut hair.
Well, and he's a really good barber, actually. He used my garage downstairs as a barber shop here for the last few days. And let me tell you, he went through a lot of hair while he was down there. Let's go ahead and throw it over there to you, Aaron.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Fisher. I am from Colorado. I'm 24 years old. And an interesting fact is I used to do this really weird sound with like my family members. And I'll let this show you guys real quick.
Oh, dear Lord. Here we go.
So, yeah, that's an interesting fact that I have. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like a low key talent.
Yeah, how did you actually start doing that, and how did you learn that you could do that?
My older cousin. So it was when I was a little bit younger. My younger cousin started doing it, and I copied her, and I was able to do it. And I just realized that I almost forgot that I was able to do that until now.
You know, there's times I wish that we were doing video, because if you all could just see what he was doing, you would be like, what in the... All right, next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nicole. I'm 19 years old, and my family's from Puerto Rico. I grew up all across the United States, traveling a lot. And an interesting fact about me is that I have a twin sister.
Why do you say that in an inquisitive way?
Well, honestly, I just don't know how interesting that is, to be honest.
Well, I mean, you did live with her all your life, so...
Yeah, but there was lots of fights there.
Oh, all right. Same but different. Okay, well, this is very interesting. It's already starting off with a kicker. So you know what? We'll start over here with you, because we have to throw in the random questions. And 5 random questions brought to you by Success Draft, where we help you draft and make your business dreams come true. And we have 5 people, so 5 interesting questions. First one, what fictional character do you relate to the most?
Oh, man. Dang, I don't know.
I was about to say, because this dead air is just, whoo.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry, I have no idea.
You have no idea?
No, I genuinely don't. I stopped watching cartoons a long time ago.
All right, well, how about this? What's your favorite way to spend the weekend?
Honestly, I would say relaxing.
And to you, relaxing would be...
Sleeping.
Sleeping. Okay, she likes to sleep in. That is her enjoyment of the weekend, which is absolutely fine. I love seeing it. Go ahead. Here we go to the next one. What do you find most attractive in a potential partner? Ooh.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a lot of things, but I would say one of the major ones is she has to be funny. Like, of course, physical attraction is very important.
Absolutely.
She also has to be humorous. She has to laugh at my jokes.
Okay,
and yes, I love doing dad jokes, and if she can't be with it, I don't know. But she has to be able to do dad jokes with me, even mom jokes.
I was about to say, it'd be more mom jokes.
Yeah,
I don't know
mom
if I'd want to have
jokes.
the dad jokes necessarily, but
But definitely like mom jokes where it's just corny and just I love that stuff. So yes, that's definitely something.
All right, we'll go with that one. Hey, Abel, yours is going to be really easy. Who was someone you really looked up to when you were little? Someone that you consider a mentor?
When I was little.
Little. Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Get into that mic, buddy. We want to hear you.
I'll say there's a couple of people. I don't have the traditional like father that I would look up to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say a lot of my cousins and just people that I saw that had a big influence around my like older people around my family. But I'll say my cousins. I was actually just telling her today about how I used to say my cousin was so cool because he used to build bikes and stuff like that out of like different parts, and he built this bike and it had a Honda symbol and it was the Honda bike. I don't know why, but it was pretty cool. But apart from that, I think my grandma, she's a very kind person. I feel like she kind of introduced me to a lot of the things that I do now. She used to do outreaches before I even knew what outreaches were. She would give back to the community and back in the Dominican Republic, and a lot of people knew her. Sadly, she passed away very young, but I'll say her. Yeah.
Man, that's absolutely beautiful. And now it makes all the other questions just seem a little less important. Hey, what celebrity do you believe deserves the most attention?
What celebrity deserves the most
Attention. Mm-hmm.
Would Jesus be considered a celebrity?
Survey says absolutely.
Yes, Jesus deserves the attention. Definitely.
All
He
right,
deserves
why do
all
you
the
think
glory.
that he deserves the attention?
Because he is faithful, he is just, there's no flaw in him. He's amazing. He's the reason why I'm alive and still standing here, still breathing, still speaking. Like, without Jesus, I wouldn't even know who I am right now. So I just give him all the glory. Hallelujah.
Hey, that's awesome.
Praise the Lord.
That's awesome. Okay, hey, next and final random question. If you could have a superpower, what would you want it to be?
Oh man, I would have to do shape shifting. I think that would be cool to be able to turn in anything I want to and be anything I want to be.
All right, then what would be the one thing that you would want to shape into to begin?
Oh man, that one's tough. Something that could fly at least. So what's that really fast bird? I don't know. A hawk. A steel I don't know. I don't know.
Still condor?
I'll just say a bird for right now.
How about a Chinese hot air balloon? Anyways, so yep, I went there. That's right, because it just happened. All right, hey, great to get to know the team already. I think this is going to be a really fun episode for us. We're gonna let's go back a little bit. All right, I want to know about you. I want to know about your backgrounds, where you've been from, what you've done, and kind of what brought you here. You can use this as your testimony time. Maybe take 5 minutes each just to kind of give us that background of where you came from and where you're going.
Well, so my background is I grew up in Washington State. As I said, I have 8 siblings, so it was always a crazy house growing up. My father, he was never really there in my life, so my mom raised pretty much all of us by herself for a long time. So growing up, having to see her do that was very hard on me, but it also inspired me to always want to take care of my family and be the one who really can take care of them. And so what I did, my vision of really how I wanted to get out of that was sports. So growing up, I put a lot of work in football. I put a lot of work in basketball. And so my whole life, I grew up that way, always trying to get approval, because I felt like my dad always rejected me. So I struggled with a lot of rejection. So I always wanted to prove people wrong. And so I grew up and all the way till my senior year of high school, I'm still playing sports. I'm about to go to college, and I had a few offers to go play college, and so I ended up down in Iowa, down by the Hawkeyes, and I was playing there for a little bit. And that was when I met Jesus, and I gave my life to him.
What was that moment?
That moment, well, actually, my first encounter with Jesus was my senior year of high school. And during that time, I didn't have enough of the word in me, but I encountered God. And so I went through a season for 8 months where I started to backslide. I started to hang out with my old friends again. I started to hang out with my old girlfriend and things like that. And then during that time of my 8 months, I felt like God hated me. I felt like he was mad at me. But then when I went to college, my roommate, my brother, he was actually Christian. I actually have a twin as well, just like Nicole. But he was my roommate, and he would always be reading the Bible. He would always be worshiping. And I'm to be honest, I did not like it because I was trying to live my own life. And but there was one night he played a song, and in that song it talked about love, it talked about forgiveness, and God really spoke to me through that song. And the next night when my brother wasn't there, I played that worship song by myself in my dorm room. And when I played that by myself, it really hit me. I felt God's presence in there, and I just got on my knees and gave my life to Jesus. And then a month after that, I got invited to be a missionary. And ever since then, I've been a missionary for about a year now, over a year. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Jofet, you're up, brother.
So, me as well. I grew up in a Christian household. My parents definitely were passionate about the Lord. They will always take us to church on Sundays. But sometimes the way they would, just a quick disclaimer, my parents are amazing. I love my parents. But just at the time, the way that they would act was like definitely opposite of what they taught us. So that kind of like pushed me away from the Lord because I felt like I was looking at Christianity through their like experiences and the way they treated me instead of just truly following the word of God and what it said. So that pushed me down a life of curiosity through searching, trying to find what I was interested in, what like I was good at. So at an early age, I was doing everything. My mother tried to get me involved in instruments, got me involved in doing sports. I remember I was playing football and basketball for a while. I tried multiple different sports. Truly, nothing was really satisfying me or just helping me truly find who I was. I even got to the point, growing up in Chicago, it was easy for you to fall into the wrong groups. So I started doing things I wasn't supposed to do, like robbing cars, breaking into homes, just to hang out. We were so bored. We were doing things that could ruin our lives just because we just wanted temporary satisfaction or something to do. And that was a repetitive pattern in my life where I started also doing drugs for that temporary satisfaction, started hanging out with the wrong people for that temporary joy. And even I felt like the Lord allowed me to experience these things because it was like he was trying to show me that I could have anything in the world, but it truly wouldn't mean anything if I didn't have him. So it got to the point where he even allowed me to get famous on TikTok. If you ask any young man nowadays, what is their form of success? They will tell you it's money, it's fame, it's girls, it's cars, it's clothes, it's this. But yet I had all of that, yet I was never satisfied. I never felt fulfilled. And it led me to a place where I was depressed. Like I thought there was nothing left for me. I was anxious of what I was going to do in the future. But in the back of my mind, I always knew that I wanted to be in a position where I didn't have any needs, where I could provide needs for other people. That's truly what I wanted to do. And I wasn't doing that with my life. So it was like, what am I going to do from here? And I used to be really good in school. But when I used to be really good in school. But when my grades started to go down, I'm like, if I wanted to provide value to people and I'm not doing good in school, how would I get to that position? So things just started getting really bad. But I reached out to one person in my life that really was serving God, and that person was my brother. A lot of people actually mistake me for my brother. He's actually 2 years older than me, but a lot of people actually think we look alike.
All right, I'm gonna have to stop you right here because I know who you're talking about when you say you were mistaken for your brother, because it was me. I remember the first time that we met, I walked up and I gave you a big hug, and you were like, "Who in the heck is this weird dude giving me a hug?" And I was like, "Is that not? That's not him. Who is this man that looks exactly like this other man that I know as a friend?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's his brother." And I was like, "Oh." Oh my.
Yeah, I still gave him a handshake. It was like, nice to meet you, sir. You know.
I'm like,
But-
we've met before. No, we haven't. Okay, fine, whatever.
But yeah,
And
Yeah.
now your brother actually, he's back in Japan now, right?
yes, definitely.
So they came back after they were there for 3 months.
yeah, 3 months.
3
yes.
months, and now they're going back for a full year, I
Yep.
believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
God is doing amazing things over there. Shout
And the
out to
group
Axe
that he's
Movement.
with is
The Axe Movement.
Axe Movement, which is great. We're gonna have them on eventually, but yeah, the Axe Movement. So awesome.
Yep, that is very awesome. I reached out to him because I was thinking about it. I'm like, he was serving God, and he was super joyful, super happy. And I'm like, I'm the one that has this. How is he happy and I'm not? What does he have that I don't have? And he's like, I'm serving God. You should try it.
Dang.
Drops the mic. I'm like,
Yeah,
wow.
please don't drop the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. You're-
But I'm like, I start giving it a try. But the thing is, I was trying in my own faith. I wasn't, in my own strength. I wasn't relying on the Lord, and that caused me to backslide. And then got to the position where I was messing around with some people I wasn't supposed to be messing around with, meaning witches. Like I was like flirting with a girl that was a witch, and she did tried to do some crazy witchcraft on me, and it was just bad. I was like, dang, I need to stop playing around with the Lord. And my brother's like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. We'll be in Chicago in like 2 weeks. 2 weeks come. I'm like, I'm trying to get myself all good, trying to act all like I haven't been doing all types of crazy stuff for the past few months. And they start treating me like family. I'm avoiding them, acting like I don't want to be around them at all. But it's like, even though I was treating them that way, they still showed me the love of God. And I'm just like, how could people still love me? How could God still love me after pushing them away, running away, doing this? And when they gave me the opportunity to join them, I just couldn't say no. That was the quickest decision I've ever made in my life, and the best decision I've ever made in my life. Because now God has been using me to do great and amazing things that I never thought I could do that I could ever do before. A lot of people here in the ministry, they were there at my house when they came and how I was acting. And now they see me being sent to different countries across the world, being used to be a blessing to multiple people in different places in the United States. And it's just a testimony of God's goodness and his mercy. And I just hope that God will continue to use me in that way in the future, because that, above all things, that is my goal, to provide value to as many people as possible. So praise the Lord.
Absolutely awesome. Wow, I still remember the first time I met you, and it was a little awkward at first, but then once I realized that you were not who I thought that you were, we actually have developed a really good relationship since then. So I'm really lucky about that.
Yes, I would agree. And you've definitely been a tremendous blessing to my life as well, and a great influence.
He just likes it because we feed him. All right, next, moving on over here today. Well, come on now.
So, my story is, like I said earlier, I grew up and I was raised in the Dominican Republic. I didn't grow up with my dad. My mom was always working. So, the only person that really brought me up a little bit was my grandmother, or just like people that took care of me. I was always trying to get attention from my mom. I wanted my mom to be in my life. I wanted my dad to be in my life. So I would always get in trouble. I was getting into a lot of fights. So it caused me to get whooped a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, about 8 years old, something happened to me that changed my life. And somebody took advantage of me. And it changed my mindset. It changed how I saw the world. I thought I was the one to blame. I looked at myself differently. So I was very angry at the world. I always, since a young age, also questioned, like, is there a God? Is there something greater? There has to be something greater. There's no way I have a body and there's stars and there's this and there's no God. And I knew of so-called religion because of my grandmother. She believed in God. And my mom, she believed in God, but they didn't live like that, except really my grandmother. She was more of the one who followed Christ the most. So at a certain age, I believe around 10, my mom really worked hard because she loved us, but we're not there we never really built a relationship. She just wanted us and the best interest. I have a younger brother as well. And I also have a lot of siblings too. I have 13. I have 13. I forgot to mention it. It's from my dad's side. But anyways, that's besides the
I'd
point.
say that's definitely an interesting fact that we got.
But anyways, they tried really hard to try to get me to the United States. Something that my mom tried to have my dad help me in my life was he was already a citizen. So that means that as a young age, I would also be a citizen. So that's something that they tried really hard to get for me and my mom as well while she was going through the process to come to the United States. So she sent me here at like 12 years old. No, they sent me here at around 11. I lived with my aunt for a certain amount of time without seeing my mom or my brother. I went back to the Dominican Republic and came when I was 12 to live here. I moved to Maryland, and I was still dealing with those stuff. I was still dealing with depression. I was still dealing with those thoughts, pervertive thoughts at a young age because of what had happened to me. And I had fallen into an addiction of pornography and very, very pervertive things. I started doing drugs. I was very angry, very depressed. I couldn't be at my home because there was always a fight with my brother, with my mother, with my stepdad, to the point that I ended up getting kicked out the house. I got kicked out of the house at 16 years old for a summer. I ended up coming back. Throughout that time, I would play football, and I was always big into sports throughout my whole life. That's what I used to do to cope with things. But times goes forward, and I'm still smoking. I try to do pills, mushrooms, things like that, just to get me out of my reality. I wanted to escape. I wanted to try something else, but I always wanted something better for me. I knew that there was something that I could do that could put me out there. I see all these people that were successful, especially my real dad. My real dad was he's still alive. He's really successful when it comes to business and things like that. My family, my grandpa was also, and I see that all the time, and I was like, I know I can do this. I want to do the same thing. I want to have my kids. I want to do something in my life. But I was so, I'll say, I felt so deep, and I was so in what I was in that it was hard to even control myself. I felt like I was just trapped and locked in a third person body where it was just everything was happening, and was something when I had a desire to do something, it was just too strong. So fast forward, I'm in high school, still getting into a bunch of fights with people. I'm involved with gangs, Dominican gangs and stuff like that. And I kind of decided something happened to me with a female, and we got separated. And after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on myself. And I'm gonna get money and this. So I got this job, and then what I would do is I'll grab donuts, and then I'll bring those donuts to school, and I'll sell those donuts for more money. And because they was for free, so I would take them.
Literally making dough from dough. Got it.
Yeah, and so I took them. I made 100% profit, and then I had my friend who sold drinks. So instead of selling bad stuff, we just had a little business in school. And I remember I had actually.
Were you doing this out the back end of your car, or like
No,
in your
in the
locker?
school.
Like you're in your locker, like pulling out donuts in the middle of.
No, so
No?
I mentioned how I played football. We had a teacher, a history teacher who had a class. Obviously, he had a class, and during lunchtime and in the morning, I would post the day before these videos of the donuts, the fritters, the fritters, the donuts, cakes. I'll post the prices. If you want to make an order, I'll bring it to you tomorrow, or meet me here. And then in the morning before class started, like 15 minutes before, I'll have people come. And then during lunch, I'll remind again, I'll post on my Snapchat. I will get a lot of views and just say, meet me at this place, because it was kind of, even though it was nothing bad that I was selling, it was not legal to sell it in school because they want to make 100% of the profit that is in school. So yeah, but I had, after that happened, happened with that girl. I was very, I guess, attached, because I had never felt a love for my mother, for example, and or somebody, right? So I was seeking something like that, and then I asked the Lord, without even being saved. I just asked. I was like, God, I want somebody who loves me in my life, and fast forward, I'm selling those donuts. A couple months passed by, and Nicole comes and she buys donuts from me, and then she buys donuts from me, and she ends up owing me like $1. So I already had her contact. So we ended up end up talking as friends, etc. Time goes by, and she's seeking the Lord, and we moved on from friends to a relationship, and she starts telling me about God and who God is, and I have questions and stuff, because I really didn't. I said, how come? I would be like, I don't think God would exist, or I would say there was a God, but he's not working in my life, because look at my parents, they believe in God, and all this stuff is happening. My mom has issues and I have issues and all these things. So she would answer these questions for me with what she knew, and I kind of my heart, just by those little seeds, the Lord was working in my heart. And there was a month where we decided to take off, and not be in contact, like a fast. And that month, I was sitting in my room, and I wanted to make a change. I wanted to do something different. I wanted something better for my life. I wanted to, like I mentioned earlier, I want to have kids, and I want to be an example to them and show them how to be a dad, like I didn't have a dad, or just have an influence in the world. And I knew that what I was doing was not the way. It was not the way to get there. So I really felt, in the sense, I'll say, like, peace. I really want to try God. I want to know who Jesus is. So I went to my friend's house, and I decided to give my life to the Lord. And slowly but surely, things started changing in my life. I wouldn't say that it was very radical. Like, at the moment, there's moments in my life where after I gave my life to Jesus, I backslid, and it was not right at all with the Lord. And um I was, how do I say, I was angry, because it's like, man, I want to change, but I feel like I just feel stuck. And oh, I forgot about this part, sorry.
No, you're
But
good.
after I got kicked out of my house at 16, I got kicked out again at 18, when I was still in high school. And I had a I moved into this apartment. I killed like 11 rats. There were so many rats in there. It was crazy. I lived in like a 10 by 10. It was like a very
Wow.
small room. It was like, yeah, it was very small. And um and then from there, I got kicked out from the people, just because they were moving. Somebody was moving it, and I moved into this other house, which was a little bit better. Um but around that time, that's when I got saved. Yeah, that's when I got saved, when I moved to the other house. So after that, like a month being saved, I decided to move to or like a month or two, to PA, to my aunt's house, so I can save some money, so I can move down to PA and live with her. Not to PA, to Florida, because she was in school. And as I moved there, I start falling back, and that's when this conviction hits my heart very, very strongly. And for about 3 days, I was crying in my room, and I couldn't live like this anymore. And Nicole had told me about invasion. She told me about how it would be good for me to keep accountability with them, etc. And I reached out to them, after I kept hearing from the Lord saying, join this ministry, join this ministry. And I didn't think it was the Lord. I got fired from my job that I was actually at, that I was using to try to get to Florida. And I was like, man, I don't think this is the Lord. And then boom, I get fired. So I was like, I'm just gonna text them. I'm gonna text invasion. I went from PA to Chicago, and after I gave my life to the Lord, that was the best decision I ever made. And after that was being obedient and going and joining the ministry, which has grown. The Lord has used it to the Lord has used it to grow my character, grow my life, and meet amazing people. Where He freed me from all those things, and the reason why I say that was the best decision that I ever made after giving my life to Jesus was because I know that if I was not obedient to joining, that and not meeting people like this who had past experiences like me, I feel like either I could have been backslidden for sure and been away from the Lord, probably even dead, and losing everything for sure that I had, even the amazing relationship that He has given me with the amazing woman of God that's sitting right here. Yeah, it's about my story.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
I'm sorry it was a little bit long. But
Oh, well, the 5 minute turned into 12, but I think you were preaching,
yeah,
and it was
sorry.
important because you really got a good point that came across, right? There was actually several things that you said in the span of that 10 minutes that really kind of had a deep impact. So definitely from a running theme that we're seeing and that we will continue to see, something missing versus something tangible. So the one thing that was missing was what led to the tangible meaning so much. Because even in those relationships that we have, when there's not 100% investment from one side, we seek out the tangible from somewhere else. So something that I'm a big firm believer in is the power of relationship. Relationship is very integral to everything that we do. So relationship healing happens in the context of relationship. And that's a big deal because it's those missing relationships in our life where we seek out the relationship from somewhere else, and we try to find that healing, and it's not 100%, right? There's only one direction that we can go to where we have 100% of that healing relationship. But I've got a lot more in my head of what you said, so don't worry, we'll come back to it. But let's move on to Aaron, and let's go over that.
Awesome. Well, first, I forgot to mention, just thank you for having us on. We really appreciate it. And we just thank the Lord for everything that you have been doing for us, for the team, and just for hundreds and thousands of people who listen to this podcast, who take wisdom and advice from you. So
I think 100,000 people is a little far-fetched, but I like it. We will believe it, and we'll have it. So there we go. All right.
So yes, thank you so much. So a little bit about my background and my story. I grew up in a Christian household, but we really didn't go to church. We were mostly a praying family. So my mom would always pray. And the reason why she always prayed was because she was a single mother. She was a single mother. She had to take care of 3 children that was from different dads. And also my sister had a lot of health issues. She got her first stroke when she was 7. And so my mom would always go into the chapel, into the hospitals, and just pray for my sister and for her health. And so that's one of the reasons why I am the man I am today, because of her. She is a prayer warrior, and she prays and she prays and she prays, whether it's for her animals or whether it's for us or for other people. She is a prayer warrior. And so in about the 5th grade, I got initiated into a gang. I lived in a really bad neighborhood. I would go out and steal. I would go out and cuss. I would go out and
that's
fight.
a big jump to go from nothing to all of a sudden now I'm getting jumped into a gang. So what were those lead up moments? I don't think it just happened like one day where mom was praying and then second day like you're in a gang.
Yeah. So what happened was I was living in a really bad neighborhood, and we were moving a lot, and we moved in this bad neighborhood in Colorado. And so I started hanging around the wrong people, older adults who were having a negative influence in my life. And my mom didn't really know that, because I would go to school, come back, do my homework, do whatever, and then go out and ride my bike. And she didn't know I was out there with these negative people who were having a huge negative impact on my life. And so that was happening for years, actually. It was happening for years. And in the 5th grade, I got initiated into this gang all because I wanted to be nosy and find out why some of my friends were doing what they were doing. And they said, oh, you have to join our gang. Me being 9, 10 years old. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll join your gang or whatever.
I'll join your gang on my tricycle. It's cool. Whatever. Rolling up.
Yeah. Yeah. So little did I know it was like an actual gang where there were older teenagers and older adults that were running this gang. So I got initiated, started fighting, started stealing, started to do all this bad stuff without my family knowing. I would go to school, come back, take my bike and go, and I would be back before the street lights came on. And they didn't know a single thing until years later. And
it was actually a really big ramp up to this. It wasn't just like an overnight thing, but rather it was this little creep thing that happened, and then influence coming from individuals that were peers at the same age, recruiting for others.
Yeah. And so what had happened was, it was one night where a pipe busted in our upstairs bathroom. And so it forced me and my family out of that house for 2 weeks. And after that 2 weeks, the landlord, he said, all right, you guys are going to have to leave because I'm going to be selling this house. At the time, my mom was renting the house. And so I came home that night, and I was actually coming back from fighting, like practice fighting with a friend. And my sister came out and she said that we have to move within a month. I started crying at that moment. I don't know why I started crying. I just started crying. Maybe it was because I didn't want to leave all my friends that were there. But God knew what he was doing at that moment, where he knew that if I was going to continue in that gang, if I was going to continue to hang out with those people, I could have ended up dead somewhere at a very young age.
Absolutely.
Again, I was in the 5th grade. I was 9 or 10 years old. And so after that month, and I didn't tell anyone that I was leaving. I didn't tell the gang members that I was leaving because of that fear. Because usually if you get initiated into the gang and you try to leave, you either have to get jumped out or you get shot out and killed. And so I didn't tell anyone. And so I thank the Lord that he was able to help me hold my mouth and hold my tongue from telling those people that I was going to leave. And so after that month, we ended up moving into a better neighborhood where it was a fresh start for me and for my family. And the new house in the new neighborhood that we lived in, I was only 5 houses away from this church that me and my family started going to. And it was about the 6th grade where my mom just randomly said, we're going to start going to church. And little did she know that her saying that was a huge turn for my life. And she didn't know what she did. That was a positive decision that she felt to make. And so after that, we started going to church. I started getting involved in youth group, getting more of the word, and getting involved in Bible studies, going to church. But the thing is, I didn't really have a relationship with God. I knew of God, but didn't have that intimate, personal relationship with him. And so I fell into pornography and masturbation. And it was a huge hold on my life for 10 years. And during that time, I would act like everything was okay, but that thing was just holding me down for 10 years of my life. And so I was just going through the years, going through the motions. And then after that, I was able to talk to my youth group pastors and let them know, like, hey, this is the situations I'm going through. They gave me wisdom on how to get rid of that stuff. One of the main ones was finding out what was triggering my reaction to go and watch that stuff and do that stuff. And so that's one of the advice I can give to people on here. If you are struggling with that stuff, find out what your triggers are and cut those triggers off, those temptations, those sources of temptations. And so after that, I was going through high school. I wasn't the best student, but I ended up finishing high school during that time because I was set free from those two things that were pulling me down, porn and masturbation, and I was able to get better grades and just be a better person. And I also graduated top 10 of my class. And so that was a huge jump just because of the Lord setting me free from those two things. And I graduated college, and there's so much more to that I can go on forever. But just those moments where my mom, she decided to do that, and she doesn't know that that was a huge part of me being the man I am today because of that one small decision. Well, that seemed small, but it was a huge decision that she made that changed my life forever. And so that's why I'm here now. I've been a full-time missionary for a year and 7 months, left everything, left my friends, my family. I still talk to them, but just leaving everything and just making that sacrifice to go out and serve the Lord full time has been a complete blessing to my life. And if I would have never made that decision to come and do this, I probably would have ended up in a really bad situation where something could have happened. So that's a little bit of my background, who I am, and how I got here. And I've been able to see more than 700,000 people give their lives to Jesus. And the Lord has used me personally on social media and in person to lead about 20,000 people to Jesus just in this last year in 7 months. And so
that's actually how you started out. Was you were preaching on TikTok?
Yeah. So I was preaching on TikTok for a couple years throughout my college career, but I never really knew how to lead people to Jesus. I would talk to people and be like, yes, go to Jesus, do this, but never really knew how to lead someone. And because a lot of people, they have that desire to give their lives to Jesus, but they don't know how. And that's that part that I was really missing the most of. I would preach the word, but I didn't know how to lead people to Jesus. And joining Glorious Destiny Missions and just getting that wisdom on how to do that has truly changed my life. And the Lord has been using me to be able to get to the people who are lost, who are dark, in those dark places, to just help them come from that darkness into the light using my testimony and sharing the wisdom that I've been learning. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, I think that Jax is the only one that has only kept to the 5 minutes. So, which is okay. I mean, we're getting a lot here, but let's see if we can bookend it down here. Go ahead and let us know your background. I know that you come from a military family, which we got a lot of military listeners here, so I know that's going to play a little bit of a part, probably.
Yes, it actually played a huge part. So growing up, like he said, I come from a military family. I used to move around a lot. My dad, he was a Black Hawk pilot, helicopter pilot, and so he would fly medevac. And so, yeah, so growing up, we moved around a lot. And so my parents, they were Christian, but they were very lukewarm. They had their own problems in their marriage. And so church wasn't really a priority. And so us moving around a lot, it made it more difficult for us to find a church. And so growing up, I knew of God and I knew he existed. I know he loved me. I know that he would never leave me nor forsake me. But I always saw him as like this big, too huge to have a relationship with. I didn't think that he saw me as me. I didn't think that he cared about me that much. And so for that reason, I was never able to connect with him. I never had that intimacy that he seeks with us. And so it was very hard growing up. Like I said, my parents didn't come from a good marriage. They were always fighting. There was lots of cheating scandals, throwing plates, lots of huge arguments, lots of lies, deceit, all these questions of divorce. Are we divorcing or not? Blah, 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 blah. And as a kid, I knew that all of this was happening and they would try and hide it. So parents, I want to let you guys know that your kids know what's going on. So yeah, I just want to make that disclaimer. So it was hard for me because I never had that picture perfect idea of a good marriage. I didn't know what it meant to be loved, and I didn't know how to express my love to others because I didn't have that growing up. And so the Bible talks about that God is love. And so because I didn't know God, I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what love meant. I didn't know what being loved was. I didn't know how to give love. And so growing up, I tried to seek love in the wrong places. I would go and I would have the desire to be chased by guys. Now, I wouldn't go out for guys, but I would want them to chase me. I would want them to want me. And so I would do things to try and get them to want me, but like not receive it, if that makes sense. So I would have my hair always looking good. I would always have like tight clothes on. I would always I would be a flirt. I would be a flirt. And so I would do stuff like that, or I would just try and seek validation from others. I always wanted to fit in with the right crowd. But in reality, it was the wrong crowd, and I didn't see that. Until COVID came around, and that was in high school for me, around sophomore or junior year. COVID came, and I was just home all the time, literally wasting my life away. I was spending 17 hours on my screen time. That's not even a joke. My screen time was 17 hours a day. 17 hours. And so I was literally just wasting my life because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to talk to myself. All I wanted was to feel loved. And scrolling on TikTok was the only way that I could have that satisfaction of like mental numbness in a way. Just erase all of your thoughts about anything. Just go on TikTok and just laugh for a second, right? So I felt like the Lord was speaking to me through these videos because all of a sudden, randomly, I get these Christian TikTok videos. And the more I swipe, the more they keep coming in. And I used to get so frustrated because I felt convicted. Because like I said, growing up, I knew about God. I knew he existed. And so I knew he was there and I knew he saw me doing all these things, right? And so I felt so convicted. And I was like, Lord, I don't even want to see this right now. I just want to relax. I don't want to feel heavy. I don't want any of this. But the more that I rejected it, the more it kept coming in. It kept coming in. It kept coming in until I just couldn't not receive it anymore. And so I kept getting this wisdom that God does love me, that God does have a plan for me, that there's a reason that I'm alive, that there's a purpose to my life, and I know that he wants me to fulfill it in the name of Jesus. And so with that, I was like, well, I can't really do anything else because I was being filled with the word of God. God was watering my heart. And so there was literally no other choice but to grow. And so those seeds were being watered. Those seeds were planted and those seeds started growing little by little, little by little, little by little. This small whisper turned into a loud roar that I couldn't ignore anymore. And I was like, okay, God. So with COVID, I stopped hanging out with all of my friends. I stopped doing what I was doing. And I just started to seek true intimacy. I started to seek purity from the Lord. And I just called upon his name. And he washed me. He cleansed me. I received him as my Lord and Savior. And after that, my life has changed so much. I ended up going to college for a semester in person. I'm still going online, but I ended up joining a travel missionary group. And honestly, it's been a blessing to serve. I've been to Israel, which my flight got paid for. I didn't pay for that. It's a blessing. And the whole trip was paid for. I didn't even have to touch my savings, no, nothing. I don't have a job, by the way, or any sort of support. So that was God right there. And it just goes to show that when you serve the Lord, you feel that satisfaction. And there's nothing else that can compare to it. So I do just want to encourage you guys that it can happen to you too. So yeah.
Wow, absolutely amazing to think about the fact that no job, no income, yet somehow, but God. So there's a continual theme that continued to run through, as you saw, and the cool thing is that they each come from different areas of the country. They come from international, from Dominican Republic. We've got Colorado. We've got Chi-Town in Chicago. We've got Washington State, and then a little bit of everywhere sprinkled in there with the Army brat over there. Army kiddo over there. We'll go ahead and go with kiddo. But they each come from different parts, but they come with the same story because they have the same outcome. There's a different process to work through that to bring us to this location. So I'm going to come back over here to Jax real quick. Jax, walk us through Glorious Destiny and what you're doing specifically within the organization.
Okay, so currently, Glorious Destiny is based in New York, but the specific mission that God put in our heart is just this last December, we did this thing called Project 5000, and we were able to give away 5,000 toys to 5,000 children all across the state of New York. So the people that are in New York right now, which would be me, Abel, Nicole, and some other people down there, we are currently just going around New York. We constantly do outreaches. We go around, we connect with churches. Sometimes we do soul winning trainings. We do outreach trainings. But specifically regarding Project 5000, God put it in our heart to do Project 5000 in every single state of the United States. So currently our first base we're trying to do is actually here in Charleston, South Carolina. And that's the main mission that we're working on right now.
And it's been a real blessing actually for a lot of the people because it's not about reaching out to individuals that already know, but it's rather coming alongside organizations that are already in place to help them project this. And Project 5000 is absolutely amazing. It's 5,000 toys for 5,000 kids in each of the locations, and that was actually a growth for the organization. Because why don't you tell us, Japhet, about it went from 1,000 to
5,000. So on the first day, well, actually over 5,000, because on the first day when we heard about it was Project 1,000. Next day he comes down, he's like, so we're gonna do Project 5,000. Everybody looks around, and then we're like, hey.
Do y'all actually know how the name came? Like why it came to 5,000? Oh, here we go. So why don't you go ahead?
So actually, our leader shared. Thank you. Our leader shared that because it first started with the boxes. I didn't have any because I had just came. The Samaritan Purse. Each of the you guys had boxes, right? And then he said, well, why not just do project or do 1,000 toys to 1,000 kids? And he said that he went to sleep, and then the Lord, I believe he said he gave him a dream or told him, no, you have to do 5,000. And he said that he started sweating blood because he couldn't believe it. So he said when he went downstairs and he told all of us that we're gonna do Project 5000. And once he said it, he can't go back in his word. And that's basically how I know the name came about, because the Lord told him to do 5,000 instead of 1,000.
So Paula Lou,
Yes,
who
sir.
was on episode 20, so you can go back and listen to him on episode 20. He was actually sitting in front of his computer when he got this dream. He went in and he said, okay, 1,000, because there's no way that I'm going to go anything above that. Then it was already taken. Project1000.com was already taken. Then it went to 2,000. He thought, okay, I'm just going to jump it up to 2,000. Looked up the 2,000, gone. 3, 4. He's like, listen, God, this is getting too big of a dream. I can't believe that this is even possible. He plugged in Project 5000 and the name was there.
Wow.
And so that's ultimately how it came down to Project 5000.
Actually didn't.
Which is really interesting to think about, because that's a huge goal to hit. But you all hit it in less than 2 months, 3 weeks.
40 outreaches in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And a team of 12.
And that's absolutely amazing. And that's going all over. And that was actually serving every single borough in New York City, as well as upstate in Buffalo.
And we also, during all of that, myself, I got sent to the Caribbean in St. Martin. So another 500 children as well got blessed out there. And even during the mission there, it wasn't just Project 5000, but we partnered with K1 Britannia, which is a disaster rescue team out there, and also with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So God was just opening amazing doors out there. So it was definitely even over 5,000.
Yeah, the individual with Make-A-Wish Foundation, you all actually ran into the CEO, I believe, of that organization
Yes, sir.
on the streets in New York City.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So they actually are selling roses as a part of the ministry in order to make funding for Project 5000 to be able to reach those goals a lot of the way. And so during that process is how that came to be.
Also, Toys for Tots as well. That one day we were actually running short on toys. We were believing the Lord, and I don't know exactly how the connection happened, but actually the Marines reached out with Toys for Tots, and they donated like 3 trips of toys, 3 van-full trips.
Wow.
Of just toys. The in New York, the basement area was, you couldn't even walk. It was just boxes full of toys. It was incredible. The Lord came through and with a blessing. He said it was going to be 5,000, so it had to be 5,000. Yeah.
All right, and Abel, you said that I don't know who it was that said that the current base, the first outreach base for Glorious Destiny is here in Charleston, South Carolina. And I know who's leading that is Aaron. And yes, that's Aaron minus the A with an apostrophe. So Aaron is actually the one that is leading that ministry going forward. Tell us about what you're doing here in Charleston to kind of help grow across the country.
Yes. So South Carolina is one of the first states that we are currently hitting right now, because the Lord put it on our hearts to do Project 5000 in every single state, and also to establish a mission base in every single state. And so the first one is in New York, and our leader, Mr. Paul, he sent me and Japhet here in South Carolina. And what we've been doing is just like what Mr. Nathan was saying, how we're going to different organizations, we're going to different churches, and we're seeing how we can be a blessing to them, but also have them be a part of what the Lord has been doing through us. And it's been amazing so far. We've been having really great connections with local churches and some churches that are in some surrounding cities as well. And so we're just continuing to just obey the Lord and just see how the Lord wants us to do this, as this is going to be the main manual for the other states. And with the help of Mr. Nathan and his leadership skills and the wisdom that he has been giving us, has been truly a blessing on how we are going to be the ones that the other states are going to look at, and we're going to be the main manual, the main team and the guide that is going to look at us and learn from us to be able to replicate a successful mission-based plan and a Project 5000.
So they've literally been writing the book on the process, because this is the first place they're here fresh, new, looking at it through a new lens. But to go from New York City to South Carolina, where you have completely different attitudes, completely different people, completely different food, which, by the way, this team has been eating quite well, because the people of South Carolina have been taking care of them with some mac and cheese, some smoked turkey. They even had venison for the first time. I mean, come on. South Carolina is taking care of this team.
Amen.
And they're finding out the differences that make up the people across the country and the different ways and approaches of which they must take. So they're literally writing the book, the manual on how to do this process, and it has been working for them in quite a different way. So let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about the most impactful part of being a part of Glorious Destiny. What has it meant for you?
Definitely being able to share the love of Christ to the community around us. There has been so many situations where you will see people who are such in need. There was this one time I was out on the streets, and there was this pregnant lady who said that her husband just got murdered, and he was the one who had all the who was the moneymaker. And so she got forced to be homeless and was living in a homeless shelter. And she had no idea where to go. She didn't even have a jacket to put on because everything got taken away from her. And so being able to give her that hope and love that only Jesus Christ can give, it's honestly such a blessing. And there's multiple testimonies like that. Also being able to see people healed, all the signs and miracles and wonders, all of that is honestly the part that fulfills me the most. Just being a part of this team that loves to serve the Lord and bless the community as well. And also just being able to be in a community that, a part of a team that is all around the same age. It's this different level of love and unity that you won't find anywhere else.
Yeah. And I think that that's been a huge impact on the community as much as it's been an impact for yourselves. Now, doing these types of things, going into the inner city, going into organizations and around people that the ordinary person probably wouldn't walk up to every day. Have you ever had, any of you, a dangerous situation that you have ever had to deal with in ministering to someone on the street?
Yeah, there was one time for me specifically, and I feel like it's maybe happened to all of us, just different. But one time for me specifically, I think I was in Chicago, and we do a lot of evangelism, we do a lot of soul winning, and I think we were just downtown Chicago, and I was just going up to somebody, and the Lord actually told me don't go up to him. But me, I'm like, but Lord, I gotta go tell them,
But,
he said,
but Lord, I know better.
but Lord, I'm gonna go, and he's like, don't. And I was like, oh, so I tell him, God loves him, he's a great plan for his life. And I said, hey, sir, I'm just going to say a quick prayer for you. And as I was praying, I started to feel weird, but my eyes were closed, which shouldn't have been a good idea, but my eyes were closed. And he actually came and he put his hand on the back of my neck and like squeezed. And he told me that if I was going to keep on praying, that he was going to do something to me. And he was gripping the back of my neck, like really strong. Yeah. And so I like put my hands up and I was like, all right, And then eventually, by God's grace, God protected me and he let go. But yeah, that was a dangerous
definitely
thing
a learning situation, to say the least, because you have to be capable of understanding when that's happening and what is happening at all times during those types of situations.
There's also a situation that happened. I was walking with Nicole and we were in charge of taking care of these missionaries that came over to the base in New York, and we went to go evangelize actually, and we were to go to a certain location. But as we're walking, I'm walking, and usually I try not to walk in the inside of the sidewalk when I'm walking with them, but I was walking in the inside of the sidewalk, and I think it was for a reason. Because I'm walking and they're talking and I'm listening to them, but out of nowhere I hear this guy said, I want to go kill somebody. And I'm like, yo, like what in the world? And I just freeze and I see his face. He's a young guy. He's crying and like devastated. And instantly I already knew what it was. The Lord literally told me somebody somebody close to him got killed. And that's usually what happens on those barrels and those streets like that. And I've had background in that, so I knew it. I just knew what it was. That I knew it was the Lord, and I just felt my heart was instantly broken. But I just froze. They kept walking. I froze, and I was like, if I go talk to him, the way he's feeling right now could be very dangerous, right? And I was just like, man, Lord, I'm just gonna go. Protect me, please. I went. I walked up to him. This is literally a street over from the church, and I walked up to him, and I was like, yo, come here. And I was like, Lord, just keep me safe, protect me. I was actually pretty scared, I'm not gonna lie, because he had his hand right here on his jacket pocket, like he was holding a gun. So I was like, yo, come here. I was like, I don't want to be weird, nothing, or be all up in your conversation, but I just overheard you say, and I just wanted to quickly pray for you, bro. I have a heart for the thing for young people and things like that, like your situation. And I've came from a background where I can relate to this. So I just want to pray for you, man. And he was on the phone with the person he was talking to. He hung up. He was like, bro, I really needed, like, how I'm about to get prayer. I need this right now. Like, I really needed this. I prayed for him. He was crying. and he gave his life to Jesus. And I really believe that was the Lord stopping something that could have happened, because I told him also, the Lord told me to tell him this, that the thing is that you might be really angry right now, right? And for something that happened to you, but you going back and doing something to that person can start a chain that could it be generations and generations, because that's how these gangs are. These gangs are generations of people killing each other and people doing this. It started from a family to now it's just worldwide, right? So I and the Lord told me to tell him that. He was like, you know what, you're right, man. And he ended up giving his life to Jesus, and he was calm and stuff like that. So that's just an example as well.
5 individuals from 5 different locations, all coming together with personal experiences. The testimonies that we each have sometimes seeked out and have always wanted to have for ourselves, they are each coming together with different aspects, coming from different perspectives, able to bring a different voice to the mission that is out there. And to be based out of New York City and to continue through to develop what this looks like moving forward is a huge project, because none of these individuals are from New York City, but rather they have relocated, they have picked up their lives, and they have moved to these outside areas of their comfort zone, because that's exactly what it is. They have gone from the comfortable to the uncomfortable, raising money on the streets to help fund this organization, to be able to fund this this group of individuals is huge. I mean, that is a personal thing where they're bringing their personal experiences, because each of their different experiences, their different perspectives of life have brought them to the same outcome and to the same messaging, which you have to say that taking different paths and ending up at the exact same location is a huge feat for anyone. From Dominican Republic, Colorado, Chicago, Washington State, everywhere on the other end of it. Yes, I'm going to continue to say that, to having the most impactful experience of life. Everyone searches, not everyone finds. Sometimes it takes that one running away to be found, to be brought back. So thank you, each of you, for investing into our lives. We will have different ways of which you can give or to come alongside the ministry in different ways. It would be a pleasure for them to be able to have that, to be able to further their cause. But today's episode is only possible thanks to my friend and producer, G. Frazier with 369sounddesign.com. Jeff, this week you're going to have a really fun time trying to make not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 people other than myself sound just as good as you make me sound every single week. And I am blessed by you, my friend, because you have been along my side through this journey day in and day out. We are blessed by the entire team here at the Wartime Leadership Podcast. See you next time. Be blessed.